welcome to the Everyone's a Critic movie review podcast. I'm your co-host, Bob Zerl. With me, as always, is professional film critic Sean Patrick. Visit us at ihatecritics.net, everyone's a critic podcast.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Our handle is CriticsPod. You can listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Alexa, all your podcatchers. And subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the little bell in the right-hand corner, I believe, to get notified when we go live, which is either Sunday mornings or Monday evenings, generally. Patreon.com/criticspod is the best way to help support the podcast. Get yourself a credit on the show. We do have bonus episodes out there. Currently, the top 24 A24 movies, along with our Thanksgiving episode, which have not been released to the regular audience yet. And then we're going to start possibly doing non-movie related bonus episodes just to see if it's something you're interested in.
It's going to get weird.
Or we just talk about music or another form of popular culture. Then TeePublic, search Critics Pod or go to ihatecritics.net and click on the TeePublic link to get yourself some podcast merch. I don't have any of it up right now, nor am I wearing a shirt, but I do have a nice little Batman versus Jesus notebook. If you can see that or not. YouTube fans.
And your beer bottle.
And I made this.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know that.
They don't got
That's
Yeti.
Impressive.
Yeti. No, I just put a sticker on a Yeti thing. It's not even. You can get the stickers though.
Well, buy the sticker. There you
go. But let's go ahead and get started with the show, and we will start with. Let's pull that up first, and large and the Unholy. What a big picture.
The Unholy, about as big as the box office these days. No, it's actually, they did very well with the other movie that came out this weekend. But The Unholy is the story of a character played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan. He was once a journalist who was well-respected, an award winner, and today he works for a tabloid website chasing down potential alien evidence. His latest assignment is to go to his Boston suburb and take a look at a cow that has been mutilated. But in actuality, a teenager just put the Metallica symbol on the cow's butt. That was pretty much, that's the entirety of it. So looking for a story, Morgan's character happens to spy something out of the corner of his eye on this weird looking tree. And it turns out to be what they call a kern doll. And this is a real thing. The kern doll was supposed to give you good luck at the harvest. It's a little doll, and you buried it in your farm, and it was supposed to give you good luck. But the other side of that is that you could trap a soul inside the kern doll in order to keep that soul from going anywhere, from infecting other people. Sort of related to the witches and whatnot. He decides he's going to bust this kern doll open, and it's a weird looking one because it's wrapped in chains, and it has the year that it was made like stamped on it. And so it's kind of cool looking. It does look like it's kind of a weird cursed item. So he decides to smash it open and take a picture of it and hint that whatever's happening in this small town is related to this. Well, actually, it turns out that it will be related to that because the soul does escape. It's the soul of someone named Mary, and she starts getting in the head of Alice, the main female protagonist of the short, a teenager who, prior to this demon infestation, was deaf and mute. She didn't speak and she couldn't hear, but when she meets Jeffrey Dean Morgan later that night, she is speaking and she can hear, and she's praying out loud. And this is, of course, seemingly as a miracle. And since this demon thing, and we know it's a demon, they don't, is named Mary, people jump to the natural conclusion she's talking to the Virgin Mary. Well, of course she's not, and she's talking to a demon, and demon things are going to happen, and blah, blah, blah. A lot of this is really good. The director of this movie is very talented. And Jeffrey Dean Morgan is a really compelling actor. He's at that unshaven handsomeness that can either be laziness or just being handsome. It can be a style choice. He's that kind of guy. You can pull that off. And he's really interesting. And I like his backstory because he gets gets drawn into this whole thing and used essentially for his past. He's been drummed out of journalism in the past for making up stories, and now here he is at the center of this story, looking for redemption. And the married demon thing kind of uses that idea against him. And he has to try and then, once things begin to turn, now suddenly this guy who's an all-time liar has to try and convince people that something awful is happening. And of course, who's going to believe this guy? Good idea. Not particularly well executed, unfortunately, especially when it comes to the demon, because once they show us the demon, it's basically the character from The Nun, but with a steel thing over her face. And it's just, she's going boo and boo. She's popping up and go boo. And I can't. I'm out. Once that starts happening, once the demon thing demonstrates that it can't hurt anybody and really cause any kind of damage, what's the point? I'm not interested in boo.
People are, though. I guess my question is, so before he destroys this thing, it's already starting to do stuff?
No, I hadn't done anything yet. He sort of, maybe it might be trying to do something. It's like he did catch it out of the corner of his eye, almost kind of impossibly, and he's drawn to this tree. But the tree is very compelling. It's a really cool looking tree. It looks like something you'd see on an Iron Maiden album cover. This tree is that kind of bizarre and eye catching, so it makes sense that he would be drawn to it, and then he just finds the doll in there, which it should have probably been buried, but he found it in the tree. But yeah, that could be something supernatural happened that led him there, but nothing happens prior to that.
Yeah. I haven't seen it, obviously, but I'm still troubled by that. It's like, really, it shouldn't start till that breaks open, like, at all. It shouldn't, I don't know. Maybe it was in the tree the whole time. I don't know. I
mean, again, you could intimate that this is just dumb luck and not anything that the supernatural being did to draw him to the tree. So like I said, the tree is very compelling. I would want to go look at this tree a little bit closer. And then you see something shiny out of the corner of your eye. You want to see what the shiny thing is. And it does have these chains on it and this porcelain head. It makes sense you'd want to take a closer look at that.
How would he, or I guess at some point he learns that he needs to destroy it to let whatever out, like he wouldn't just think
the doll is done after that part. Once you break the porcelain doll, you can't put it back together again.
Well,
it's
right.
done for.
But how does he know to break it?
Well, he starts seeing this Mary. Mary starts kind of appearing to him, and he sees that it's demonic and that it's kind of evil. And he's always been kind of a skeptic anyway of this type of thing. He's not a religious guy, so he's, as much as he wants to believe in the miracles, he also doesn't believe that miracles actually exist.
Gotcha. So they do kind of appear before he breaks the porcelain doll, then, right? I don't know.
Well, we see a woman who gets hanged, and it's a pretty good scene. Like, this happened in 1845. A woman is thought to be a witch. She's hanged, and one of the things that they do is they hammer this metal faceplate over her face, and it's a really kind of a heavy metal kind of scene. And then. So that's how we know. And then, of course, they show her the doll and explain to her, in her state as she's burning to death, that your soul is going in here, so you can't infect anybody else.
And when he breaks it open, the soul comes free and haunts people.
Right. We don't actually see that. We don't actually realize. I knew because of the trailer. I think most people going in probably have an idea that breaking the doll is going to do that, but. I mean, there's nothing to indicate to him that that's going to happen. Like, he doesn't buy this. He thinks it's just a cool looking thing that he can build a story around. But
she is kind of appearing to him before he breaks it, or no?
No, it's afterwards. After the miracles start, after he's met the girl who's the deaf girl is having the visions. He starts to kind of get uneasy about the whole thing, and the skeptic in him kind of comes out.
Remember when Jeffrey Dean Morgan just died in the beginning of everything? Like in Weeds, he was in the first episode, or I don't even know if he was in an episode, just after the fact, and then Watchmen, obviously, and there's something else too.
Grey's Anatomy. Supernatural.
Yeah.
He plays dead people a lot.
Until Negan. Oddly enough, that's when I stopped watching. Anything else on the Unholy before we move on?
If you've never seen a movie before, you might enjoy it.
My wife would like it. She's sitting up here, didn't hear what you said. All right, let's move on to Funny Face.
Yes, Funny Face is a strange and weird and kind of brilliant movie. This is a movie that had me just completely mesmerized. So this weird character is just hanging out one day and he sees this clown mask or Joker mask, whatever it is, fall from the sky and land on top of this building. And so he goes up and he retrieves the mask because he just thought it kind of looked cool from afar, and he thinks it's even cooler up front. Plus, he may be somewhere on the autism scale, so he doesn't understand that the social hue of this is very strange. It's very odd that someone would wear this mask all around, but he thinks it's kind of cool. He doesn't wear it the whole movie, but he does start wearing it in public and in unusual places, and you can sense that that's because he doesn't understand normal social interactions. He meets a young Muslim woman who's trying to kind of hide out from her oppressive uncle and aunt who are her caretakers. She's an adult, but she's living with them, and being in a Muslim heritage, they have a very strict rules about their household. She wears all the garb and covers her face and prays at very specific times, and she's trying to get out from under that a little bit. She still wants to dress that way, but she meets him and they have a kind of a quick interaction, and then they keep bumping into each other, and she finds him weird and fascinating, and they begin a sort of tenuous relationship, one that is kind of weird because she's a little bit more outgoing, even as her religion doesn't allow her to be, and he's very not outgoing and doesn't understand social cues, but has an affection for her that's really obvious and a protective quality as well. All the while, underneath this, there's another story happening where the home where his parents live were played by the stars of the Tortellis, by the way, in case you don't remember that from Cheers, Rhea Perlman. They're living in this house that is getting torn down by another character who is a kind of a new modern billionaire in New York who's leveling towns in this New York burg, and he's taken their home, and he's very upset about this. He's been calling this guy and threatening him, and he has a weapon, and it's growing, and like the tension of this between him having this relationship with this woman, but also this desire towards getting revenge against this developer. These two tracks of story kind of feed each other into a sort of a feeding frenzy of emotions for this guy, until you think maybe something is going to happen that is going to be very violent and explosive, and it's fascinating to watch.
Here's my problem. Two things happen. One, you recommended it highly and started throwing words like or names like taxi driver around. Secondly, the very first review I read outside of talking to you about it was a negative one.
Yeah.
For the most part, this has gotten positive reviews. But then third, I had a hard time getting drawn in. The movie itself it's fine. A little empty, but maybe that's kind of intentional. I don't... I get what you're saying. It's kind of like a modern day taxi driver, almost in reverse. Because like that is more about this how the scum.
Her trying to save him, and yeah.
Well, and then even that with the way the city is, it's it took racism and rich people to come in and turn that city around. Here, you have gentrification going on, and so it's like the opposite is happening. They're tearing this town apart. Well, in Taxi Driver, the idea is that it needs to get better. Basically, you're going after the pimps versus the billionaires. That's kind of the difference between the two movies. But then I just got myself thinking about that, how... and I had a hard time staying invested in the movie because I just kept wondering, going down this rabbit hole in my mind of, really how... Times Square got turned around, and then what is going on out there in Brooklyn and all these other towns, and how just whether it's intentional or unintentional, and who's the bad guy and who's the good guy. And I know that clearly the billionaires are definitely over the top bad guys here. There's some pretty funny scenes, like when he's going to ask his dad for money, and I enjoyed that scene at the restaurant when. What did he
Johnny
call
Lee Miller and Victor Garber.
Yeah.
and the dad is
He had
his
a
dad
great
really
line.
lays him out pretty good for having supported him all his life, and the changes that he made to New York were necessary, while the changes that you're making are just cosmetic. Like mine will last and yours are meaningless, and
Right.
just dresses him down. And what I thought was an incredible scene.
He had a great line. I can't remember what it was. Something about I'm just the box, something or other, and then he goes, "No, you're the box they put my money in," or something like that.
Yes.
And you had to see the movie to see it in context of what I just said. But
Right.
in that scene, it was pretty good and powerful. And then the whole relationship. I mean, I like this isn't a romantic relationship at all. It's just two people, going. I don't want to call it an adventure, but just an experience.
They need each other in this moment.
Right. There is this. Oh, go ahead.
I got to shout out another scene. And the lead actor under the mask is Cosmo Jarvis, and he has a scene where he gets violently upset about the New York Knicks losing, and then she asks him, "Well, why the Knicks? Why aren't you a fan? Why don't you just be a fan of the Nets?" And he just goes into this thing about the way that the losing of the New York Nets or the New York Knicks is emblematic of what New York is, and it's a great monologue. It is so exceptionally well delivered, and I was like, that was just so impressed with that.
And I don't know if that's part of what I enjoyed that scene because just him, the way he tears the Jets down or the Nets down. It's like you said, it's really well played, really well acted, great lines, but at the same time, he's as mad at that as he is like the whole gentrification stuff going on. And I guess that works. For me, it didn't, but I think overall it's working for most critics. That just kind of, I don't know. It just kind of threw me out a little bit. And then this whole 3-minute sex scene midway through the movie that, or not even really, he just kind of sits in a chair. The billionaire guy just sits in a chair and watches 3 girls.
Yeah. I thought that scene was powerful as well in a way, just for how, something that he takes for granted that he has this happening in front of him. And it just underlines how he has no joy in anything. There is no joy in this man's life. And it's a little on the nose in that way. But at the same time, I thought Johnny Lee Miller played that really well.
And maybe I just wanted less of him. And maybe, you're also throwing Taxi Driver in my head. So, with the exception of one scene, De Niro's in every scene of that movie.
Yeah.
And in that one scene that he's not in, it's kind of out of place in Taxi Driver. There's a lot of scenes where they jump back to the big bad guy, and maybe I wanted less of that. I'm thinking, I don't know. It just, that's the main thing was I kept comparing the two and looking for the differences and similarities, and
right.
I just was not able to enjoy it as the movie by itself without the comparisons and without also what I read in that review. So everything he pointed out was starting to stick out of my head, and I should have just not read anything. And I think I'd have enjoyed the experience much more because the acting's phenomenal. It really is really great performances. I just couldn't get out of my head.
Yeah. I get that. I don't think this movie is anywhere near as good as Taxi Driver, but I think I like the inflection.
Right.
It's kind of pulling off, and this, you strip away the grit and grime of Taxi Driver and bring it into the modern day. There's an element of that. It's also unpredictable in the way that De Niro's character was in that movie. Cosmo Jarvis's character here is entirely unpredictable. He can be gentle and sweet in one moment, and then he's, the Knicks lose and he's punching the shit out of a car and planning, and he's also planning a murder the whole time. And I mean, I found that to be exciting, and I thought the ending was bold in what it chose to do in the end.
Yeah. But it is available if you want to rent it from iTunes and Amazon and all that good stuff. All right, let's move on to Candyland. No.
Just call it The Hills Have Eyes 3. But Canyonlands is better than the Hills Have Eyes movies. I'm going to say that because I don't like the Hills Have Eyes movies, either the modern or the classic. I don't think they're very good. This movie is better just because it's just, I don't know, better looking, better villain, less focus on being overly gross, more focus on characters, and I like Steph Barkley.
Yeah, another one where my wife, I showed her the 3 movies you showed me, Funny Face, Canyonlands, and Shiva's Baby, and she chose this one. And then you had said it wasn't bad, and I was like, okay. And then I'm watching, I'm like, this is horrible. And then I'm sitting
I didn't
going,
think it was horrible.
Well, it got better, I guess, but for the acting was just, I didn't really like the acting.
The group of people that they have set up to be the cannon fodder are terrible. Yeah, they're all awful. It's poor screenwriting to, social media influencer is the easiest thing in the world to dunk on. I'll grant that, but I liked the lead character enough that that didn't matter to me.
Yeah, and I guess I've the whole time I'm sitting here, and all it's going to do is start a fight, but I'll say it anyway. You mentioned The Hills Have Eyes. I'll take the original over this any day, and I'll take Wolf Creek over this. I thought Wolf Creek was far. I'm sitting here going, how could you say this is good and that sucks?
Oh, I hate Wolf Creek. I think Wolf Creek is unwatchable trash. I think it's exploitative nonsense that revels in the desire to destroy women. I the same way that Roth does in Hostel. It's empty, violent spectacle for the sake of somebody who's jerking off to the idea of women being gutted. That movie's atrocious to me, but this isn't that, thankfully.
It's way less well made. I guess the bad guy at the end is somewhat cool, but I don't know. This is definitely forgettable. I just was not. I do not recommend this one.
I kind of do, just because I think the lead actress is quite good, and I like the look of the villain in this movie, and I liked his choice of ridiculous killing objects, and I also like the Moab setting. I'm surprised nobody's ever set more people don't set horror films in this type of setting.
But yeah, it's also available if you want to watch it. I ran out of time, and I think I would have liked this one the best, and that's kind of bummed me out. So I haven't seen Shiva Baby.
Yes, Shiva Baby. This is a terrific, terrific movie. And this is a movie that basically encapsulates what it's like to be inside of an anxiety attack as it's happening. And that's really, I know that doesn't sound like a great review, but honestly it is. I've never seen anybody capture it this well. So this is the scenario that you're walking into. That morning had sex with a man for money. He's actually given her money. She's not a prostitute per se. She's accepting help from him to pay for her college tuition to become a lawyer. At least that's her story. She then ends up being called by her parents to go to a Shiva where a person has died, and the family is gathering together to sit in Shiva, to sit together in mourning. And when she arrives there, the man she'd had sex with that morning turns up. And who else turns up? Her girlfriend, her ex-girlfriend shows up at the party as well. So, and she didn't know she was coming. And so there's that pressure mounting. Her parents happen to know this guy who she slept with that morning, which she didn't know about. So they're all excited to introduce him and her. And he's shown up with his wife and new baby. So again, it keeps ratcheting up and ratcheting it up, on top of which this has that kind of we know, everybody kind of has a popular conception of Judaism and the ways in which families of that culture can tend to be judgmental of each other. So everybody in this place is asking her about her future and what she's going to do or what she's doing now. And her parents have even come up with the best possible lie that they can think of, so she can explain why she's not actually doing anything and she spends all her time babysitting, which is apparently her job, while she's trying to figure out what she's going to do with the rest of her life. And they want her to just lie and say she's picked this college or that college, or she's just taking some time. So she's got to lie. She's got all these different lies flying around her. She's trying to keep her parents from finding out that she slept with this guy. The wife, played by Diana Agron from Glee, she's trying to keep her from finding out that she slept with her husband. Or is she? She might want to kind of let this go because she's just kind of eager to, to put this guy in a place where he's feeling what she's feeling, but she's whether she does that or not, you'll have to see for yourself. And the ex-girlfriend seems to want to be there with her, but again, she's the ex, and so that's awkward as well. And the modern sexual politics of bisexuality is kind of a fun aspect of this as well, and especially in a large home filled with elderly Jewish people who probably aren't too keen, or at least maybe oblivious to the idea of bisexualism.
It sounds like, I mean, I guess what's the difference between this and, like, Ben Stiller does this a lot where he does anxious stuff, but I guess it's not the whole movie. And he's also coming from a place of privilege most of the time in the movies. He's going through stuff like that. Like, I don't know. My brother hates movies like this. The scene in Swingers when he calls that girl and leaves like 47 voice messages before she calls. He can't watch that.
Yeah.
And this sounds like a full movie of that. Is that?
I think that's more cringe, and this is more like desperate, anxious feeling of the walls closing in on you, the hyperventilating, the feeling like everything is coming down on you all at once. And then there's this amazing score that they put in this. They've got a horror movie score on this that is kind of those very harsh string instruments, very harsh sounding. It feels like a horror film, and it really, the direction, the way she shoots it, underlines the intensity of every little thing that's happening. And at the same time, she's delivering a solid comic performance. And so they shouldn't work, but they do, because this young actress is so very good. Rachel Sennett is her name, and she's so very good at maintaining her humor and her, and we're kind of laughing with her, but also kind of laughing at her at times. And that tension as well is foisted upon us as an audience. So it's kind of, because we're supposed to identify with her and be on her side, and sometimes we're not.
Does the humor lighten the tension for the audience at all, or does it not really?
I think the tension stays, but sometimes there are just these great laughs where you kind of forget that you're feeling tense for a moment, and then you remember what the situation is.
There was a movie last year, fairly early into the pandemic, something about I'm Gonna Die Tomorrow or something like that, which is very, I can't remember the name of it. I remember you liked it quite a bit.
Oh yeah, it was She Dies Tomorrow, and it was my number 2 movie of 2020.
And that was kind of about anxiety. I mean, not kind of, it definitely was about anxiety as well. But was that more of just kind of watching anxiety happen, and this is more experiencing it, or what would you? I know
that was more like just an existential horror, like just the idea of knowing that your life is ending and being so certain of it can both be devastating, but also kind of freeing in a strange way. And certainly there is anxiety and tension in that movie, and the visual style of that never lets up. But this is a comedy.
All right. Let's move on to the other one. Godzilla versus Kong.
I'm going to come off like I like everything this week. Because I do like everything this week. I like this. This is really dumb, but it's a lot of fun. And I think this was because there's a better director in charge here. The last director of Godzilla, King of the Monsters, was just terrible at his job. He basically made a Michael Bay movie, and it was just almost impossible to watch with there's just clanging cacophony of idiocy that was happening throughout. It was basically unwatchable. This time with a much better, more talented director in Adam Wingard. They've managed to clean that up and give us some clean fight scenes where we're actually seeing Godzilla versus Kong really battle it out. And I don't think we got bogged down too much in the human characters, which is another problem that King of Monsters had, was the human characters weren't very interesting outside of Millie Bobby Brown. Here, they're much more aware of what movie they're making, and so they don't forefront the actors. They keep them strictly in the supporting roles to Kong and Godzilla, who are on screen most of the time. And I thought that was a smart play because, again, that's the more interesting aspect of this movie is just watching these two gigantic beings, figure out that they both have a mom named Martha and come around.
Yeah, I had a hard time staying awake for it, mainly because I watched it at home instead of in a theater. I think this seemed to be the movie people started going back to the theater for, oddly enough.
32 million.
And I read a lot of reviews that did complain about the humans, but I almost feel like they wrote those reviews before they saw the movie.
I think so.
I did, like I said, I fast forward to the fight scenes, and they were. I mean, I don't care, so it's hard. I guess. I mean, it was cool, but I don't know.
I just think my apathy was overcome by the better direction and by the fact that he cared about trying to show you that Kong did have a chance at this fight. Because going into it, I wouldn't have think that a giant gorilla versus Godzilla would have much of a chance. But then they kind of give Kong this giant axe, and I'm like, okay, now I'm with you. He's got a giant axe that's powered by Godzilla's inner power. Right on. Okay, now I think he can hang.
Yeah, and I'm always like, I don't know, I like the continuity of I didn't mind the first Godzilla movie, and the rest. I mean, Skull Island wasn't very good. The other Godzilla movie wasn't very good. King
of the Monsters is unwatchable.
And so, because of that, it's hard for me to care about anything after that.
I went back to Godzilla King of the Monsters before watching this, and it lowered the bar so much that this one was able to step over it.
I just have a hard time staying awake anymore. The hours I've been working are ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it's just hard to. I think in the theater it would have been really cool to see. I'm assuming you didn't get to go to the theater for this one.
No, I watched this on a screener.
But it looked like it'd be cool in a theater.
Yeah, I think most people would get the best experience of this movie watching it in a movie theater.
And everybody I know that saw it liked it. Even if they said the story was weak, they thought the action was cool, and that's really all you need in a movie like this anyway.
And they're genuine comic homages to the 1963 movie we're about to talk about. They actually do a couple of visual references to that movie, and I'm like, that's awesome, man! Way to go! And they're not shoehorned in there. They're not forced. They felt like a genuine bit of humor for anybody who actually saw this 1963 bit of ridiculousness.
And I wish I could have watched this cleanly after watching that one to catch those, because that would have been more fun. But why don't we just head right there? And
ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event for the linear, legitimate, and universally recognized, undisputed classic.
1962's King Kong versus Godzilla.
King Kong versus Godzilla. The story about how this happened is probably better than the movie, and they should make a movie out of the backstory behind this. Do you know the story?
I do not.
This movie began life as King Kong versus Frankenstein. That's where it started. It was going to be King Kong versus Frankenstein, or Godzilla versus Frankenstein, excuse me. It was going to be Godzilla versus Frankenstein. And then the original guy who put together the original 1932 King Kong animation, a guy named Willis, came up to this guy, producer John Beck, who was actually the producer of Harvey, the legendary Jimmy Stewart movie. And he pitched him the idea of Frankenstein versus Godzilla. And that got the wheels turning. He's like, hey, I wonder, or Godzilla versus Frank, whatever it was, bottom line. Yeah. That got his wheels turning. Hey, is Kong available? Because he's talking to this guy who made Kong, and he's like, is Kong available? I wonder if Kong's available. So he started thinking to Universal. Kong was available. He puts himself in the middle of the deal between Universal and Toho Studios and brings Kong in place of Frankenstein. And that's how we get to this movie. And Marion C. Cooper, the guy who created King Kong, thought he owned the character. He thought, well, whatever, you try and make that, I'll stop it. I own the character. Nope. They stole it right out from under you, buddy. Oh man, yeah, he got screwed royally. Because he did not want to see Godzilla as a guy in a suit. But here we get King Kong rather, as a guy in a suit. Here we get King Kong as a guy in a suit. And I loved it. I thought it was camp brilliance. I thought this is one of the funniest things I've ever seen, is this fight, these ridiculous rock-tossing fight scenes between Godzilla and King Kong are absolutely hysterical. On top of which, the whole production is so low budget and charming. The American parts of this movie were shot in 3 days. 3 days is all it took them to put it together, and they somehow came up with the unifying idea that the United Nations has its own version of CNN.
Right. And they just kind of tell you the story
so
as they
delightfully
go. Yeah, they just kind of explain everything as the movie goes on. It's pretty. I don't know.
Delightfully silly.
Yeah.
But when you watch the Toho sections, there's one section that is really deeply problematic in many ways that I don't want to think too long about. But when you look at what they're the best at in creating miniatures, these miniatures are amazing. They're so cool. I want to own one of those miniature trains. I really do. I want one of those. That is the coolest thing. And the mini cities that they're stomping on. I mean, there's just so much, nostalgia to that, and also creativity. A wildly creative idea from people who, having no money, just deciding to do something crazy and make it work. And that's what these guys did. They're like, we want to make a big monster movie. What can we do? Miniatures and a guy in a rubber suit stomping on him. Brilliant. Film it. It's got the charm of almost like a Be Kind Rewind in that way. Right.
Well, the crazy thing is, like, one, how watchable it is insane.
Yeah.
'Cause my son watched it with me. And he didn't watch the new one. He just watched this one. And at one point he's like, they just literally lit a toy tank on fire. Where's the special effects? But he couldn't turn his head away. At the same time, fast forward to the 1990s, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers pretty much did the same thing. And it played to that age group. So it's... I was just kind of shocked at how much fun it was.
It is so much fun. It is ridiculously silly fun. And those rubber suits are amazing.
King Kong throwing the rock and it barely gets to him. And then they're just kind of like they're in a helicopter kind of narrating the fight.
Yes. It's got play-by-play. That's fantastic. The only thing that's missing is like Jim Ross. I really would have liked Jim Ross to call that fight.
And when you had said that, I wasn't sure if you were talking about this one because I hadn't seen this one yet,
right?
Or the HBO or the one in the theaters.
Really, both, yeah.
But this one would have played really well with Jim Ross is a podcast. If he had him and Tony Schiavone, if they wanted to do something for their Patreon page. Calling this fight would be
man, Godzilla stomping a mud hole in King Kong.
Yeah,
I love it. This movie is so endlessly charming. And a couple other fun facts about those two American actors. First of all, the director, the guy that directed it in 3 days, was a television veteran whose experiences included a show called Sea Hunt and 5 episodes of My Mother the Car. Where a guy's mother's soul gets trapped inside his car and speaks to him through the radio.
Ahead of his time.
It's time. And then the guy who plays the news guy in the movie, his career from here, he makes 2 more movies. He makes a movie called The Worms, The Crawling Worms, I think it is. It's a horror film about mutant worms that eat people. And his final screen credit is one close to all of our hearts. It's The Bikini Cab Company, a softcore porn film starring Marilyn Chambers and Amy Lynn Baxter.
Went out on top.
And the other guy who plays the scientist, his biggest role after this, aside from maybe Bewitched, he went on in 1974 to play the mayor in the movie Foxy Brown.
Oh, cool. I mean, there's like one scene where they're it's like it is kind of like watching UFC or WWE where like Godzilla's brain's the size of this little pea, but he's all, you know, aggression or whatever the word they used was, I forgot. But King Kong, on the other hand, he can think, but he's not quite as strong. So, I mean, they're trying to break down the attributes of both characters. When meanwhile, you just put them both, two guys in a suit, and like, oh, they're about the same size. One breathes fire.
Isn't this the plot of the Shane McMahon, Braun Strowman fight for WrestleMania? I think it is. They're putting him in a steel cage.
Without the train. Well, I guess there's a train. So never mind. I haven't watched in a while, but I've heard they're making train noises when Braun Strowman.
Yeah.
That seems like an idiotic decision. But what do I know?
Yeah.
But
it lacks the charm of King Kong versus Godzilla, that's for sure.
Maybe if they wore rubber suits.
I would love that. Yes, put them in rubber suits.
That's something.
Put Braun in a giant Godzilla costume and Shane in a King Kong costume. I love it.
That's something AEW would do first. Big Show and whoever else. Let's move. Anything else on the monster fighting movies?
It's on YouTube for free. Watch it. It's just too much fun.
Yes. Speaking of too much fun, 1991. Did you watch either of these, by the way?
No.
All right, good.
No.
Alec Baldwin and Kim Basinger were in The Marrying Man. Never seen it. Don't know if it's any good.
I don't remember. I saw it. I don't remember it.
And then there's another movie called Hanging with the Homeboys, compared to Diner and American Graffiti based on the poster here. The difference between those two movies and this is I've heard of those. I've never heard of this.
Yeah. I mean, you've got Mario Joner. He was huge on MTV in the late 80s, early 90s. And that's a young John Leguizamo.
No. Yeah, my dad had turned off MTV. Like, he got rid of cable because he found God right around this time. So I didn't know who that was. All right. So that is our regular show. Next week, we've got Giants Being Lonely, Thunder Force on Netflix, Voyagers, The Tunnel, and Hollow Point. Which of those can we watch? I know Thunder Force is on Netflix. I believe that's just a movie. If it's a TV show, forget I even said it.
Yeah.
Giants Being Lonely is going to be available to rent. What about the other three?
Voyagers is only in theaters, I believe. Hollow Point will be available for streaming on Friday.
What about The Tunnel?
The Tunnel, yes, also on Friday.
Cool. Our classic's going to be Bang the Drum Slowly. Giants Being Lonely is a baseball, or has baseball in it. I don't know if it's a baseball movie per se, but
right.
Same with Bang the Drum Slowly. Plus, baseball just started.
Yeah.
And then in 1991, we got Out for Justice, The Object of Beauty, Impromptu, and Daddy Nostalgia? I don't know. I've never heard of that one either, so.
No.
Probably won't.
That's weird.
Watch that one. I don't know if I watched any of those, if I'm being perfectly honest.
I hope you see Giants Being Lonely.
No. I want to watch the new movies. I mean, from 1991.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm going to try to see Giants Being Lonely. I don't know. I'll watch the beginning of Thunder Force just because. There's my Facebook page. Let's go here. Yeah, so in The Tunnel, I don't know. It sounded okay.
It's, I've seen it. It's good. There you go. We don't need to talk about it next week.
Next week. Show's over. Ice Age 2, John Q.
John Q. I really hate the Ice Age movies.
Rosalie or Jurassic Park?
I've not seen Rosalie that I'm aware of.
Neither have I. Rocky Balboa or Jurassic Park?
Jurassic Park.
Probably watch that one first. I agree. Do like Rocky Balboa for what it is, though. Home Alone 3 or Joe Dirt?
Did you know that Roger Ebert said that Home Alone 3 is better than the first two?
I'm not surprised based on some of the shit he said.
I'm picking Home Alone 3.
I have no opinion, so I'll just go with you. Sirens, Saturday Night Fever. With a Grace poster.
Saturday Night Fever. There's a lot of really sexy topless ladies in Sirens, though, if you're interested.
Really?
Yeah.
Never seen either one of them. We need to make Saturday Night Fever a classic at some point.
Yes, very soon. You need to see that.
Hot Tub Time Machine, Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yeah, I think recency... I shouldn't say recency bias. Had we not watched that a couple years ago, I probably would have picked Hot Tub Time Machine.
I enjoy Hot Tub Time Machine as well, but I mean...
But going back and watching Who Framed Roger Rabbit is so much better than I remember it being.
It's incredible. It's a masterpiece.
Creature from the Black Lagoon, 1954, Adventureland.
I have a very big soft spot for Creature from the Black Lagoon. I think it's an incredible movie, honestly. But Adventureland is my preference.
I actually haven't seen Creature from the Black Lagoon. Might have to make that a classic.
Kind of a similar feel to King Kong versus Godzilla.
Really?
Yeah, just kind of silly, over the top, but fun. Man in a suit.
Rango, Big.
Rango.
I like Rango, but I love Big. Oh fuck! I threw the quarter on the ground. Give me a second, YouTube or everybody. I'm not editing any of this out. Let's see here.
Rango is like one of my top favorite movies of the year it came out. I named it almost the overall number one movie of the year that it came out. It's not to say that I don't like Big. I like Big. I think it's great. I think Tom Hanks is awesome, but I think Rango is like off the charts, like brilliant, like not just an animated movie. It's like a brilliant work.
Well, it's because they ripped off the Django movies.
They did really well, though. It's very funny.
Yeah, no, I like it. I mean, it's nostalgia that's bringing me to Big, and I mean, Big's why I don't like Tom Hanks and anything else. And I'll flip it again because otherwise I would have won, and that's not fair. God damn it! I almost dropped it again. All right, Tails. Sorry.
That's all right.
Big one. Evil Dead 2: The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Again, I love The Day the Earth Stood Still, but Evil Dead 2 is too good to pass up.
Yes. The Lady Killers, Body of Lies.
The Lady Killers.
I agree. Highlander, The Phantom Menace.
Phantom Menace.
Fine, I don't give a shit. U571, The Burbs.
The Burbs. Having a Tom Hanks night. We didn't even talk about him.
But again, that's just the era of Tom Hanks I miss. He needs to just go back to shitty movies like that. Office Space, Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
Office Space.
Yes. Eyes Wide Shut, Salesman.
I'm not familiar with Salesman, though I would like to be.
Yes. Eyes Wide Shut, Dennis the Menace.
Eyes Wide Shut.
The Man in the Gray Flannel Suit. Didn't think so. Eastern Promises, Hot Shots Part Duh.
Eastern Promises.
Yeah. Love Hot Shots, though. The Wedding Planner, The Road Warrior.
The only thing that can make me pick Road Warrior is The Wedding Planner.
Wish those two were in the same universe.
If only, that would be great.
Halloween H2O, Sister Act.
Halloween H2O.
Going Sister Act. I win when it doesn't matter. The Jerk, The Deer Hunter. It's
the Jerk.
Deer Hunter for me, but it would be awesome to see those in the same universe.
I appreciate The Deer Hunter, but The Jerk. He hates these cans. Stay away from the can.
The jerk won the coin flip.
I always think of that. I just can't. I can't get over it.
Scream 2, 310 to Yuma, 2007.
310 to Yuma all the way.
Yes. After Hours, Dead Man Walking.
For me, After Hours.
Okay, I don't really know either one of them that well. All Quiet on the Western Front, Final Destination 2.
Blasphemy, I'm going to go with Final Destination 2 because All Quiet on the Western Front is so long. So long.
I'll never have to see it then because it sounds like you'll never recommend it as a classic. Welcome to Me, 10 Cloverfield Lane.
10 Cloverfield Lane, but I kind of like Welcome to Me a little bit.
I don't know that one. Or I can't remember it at least.
Kristen Wiig won the lottery and bought a TV station and then programmed herself as a Oprah.
Oh. Was that the casino movie where she walked around the casino naked or something like that?
It's possible. I don't remember.
I didn't see the movie or that scene. I just know that she did the movie where she did that. Demolition Man, Beer Fest.
Demolition Man.
1993, Can't Get Here Soon Enough.
1995 needs to stay away.
Man, I spent the whole year defending that movie, even though I didn't really like it. Judge Dredd or The Quiet American?
The Quiet American.
I was like, they wouldn't let him do an R-rated version of it. That's why it was no good. I want to be young and dumb. Rocky, Adam and Paul. I don't know what.
Never heard of Adam and Paul.
Rocky or Maverick?
Rocky.
Stallone or Mel Gibson? Requiem for a Dream, Constantine.
Requiem for a Dream.
Agreed. The Big Blue or The Outsiders?
I'm not familiar with The Big Blue.
Neither am I. Star Trek, the motion picture. Or
Outsiders.
The Outsiders. Raising Arizona, Sicko.
Raising Arizona.
Agreed. I thought Sicko was kind of weak anyway. Frozen, 310 to Yuma.
310 to Yuma.
Agreed. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Part 1, Top Gun.
Harry Potter.
Sure. Big Trouble in Little China, Jumper.
Big Trouble in Little China. You picked Jumper.
No, I picked Big Trouble, even though I don't like it. I don't like Jumper. The Green Mile, Ghost Story, 1974.
I've never seen the 1974 Ghost Story.
Neither have I.
Wonder if it's better than the Casey Affleck Ghost Story.
Not A24. Green Mile, Kingdom of Heaven.
The Green Mile, Kingdom of Heaven's impossible to watch.
Yeah. Electra, Girl Interrupted.
Girl Interrupted.
Agreed. Gladiator, Waitress.
Waitress.
Agreed. Even though I don't hate Gladiator like you. Lincoln, Morgiana.
No.
There's been a lot of more movies that you haven't seen this week than normal.
I know. It's weird.
Lincoln or A Clockwork Orange.
Did you see the Space Jam trailer? The new Space Jam trailer with LeBron?
No, not yet.
They've got characters in the crowd dressed as droogs, and I'm like, what are you doing? Space Jam, what are you doing? I realize Warner Brothers also owns this property, but come on.
I thought you were going to say like Bugs Bunny did the eyeball thing where he's...
He's done that, I believe.
I think he has, actually. So what are you picking?
It was a weird reference in Space Jam. Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
I like Lincoln, though. I thought Lincoln was good.
White Chicks, Empire of the Sun.
Oh, my God. I want to see the Bad Trip version of White Chicks. That's what I want to see. I'm going to vote for that one.
All right. Does that mean you're choosing White Chicks?
I am, because I hate Empire of the Sun. It's so much homework.
Yeah, there's a lot of homework on this episode's flick chart. Howard the Duck, Heathers.
Heathers.
Agreed. Body Heat, The Sting.
Body Heat. I hate The Sting.
Carrie 2002, Super 8.
Oh, 2002, then Super 8.
Speaking of homework, the English Patient, Star Trek Nemesis. We're ending this when Ben-Hur pops up.
Oh, God. The English Patient. Star Trek Nemesis sucks.
Yeah, Superman Returns, AI.
AI.
I'm going to make you flip for it. I like Superman Returns. I can't vote for Superman Returns anymore, can I? Too many bad things in it. All right, we'll go AI. The Birds, Six Figures Getting Sick.
Never heard of that one.
And then they have a different title on the poster. Let's.
Yeah.
The Birds, Bicentennial Man.
The Birds.
Agreed. Point Break, A History of Violence.
No. History of Violence.
I guess I don't have to grab the coin. Night Watch.
I'm not sure I've seen Night Watch.
I haven't. Dragonheart, Live and Let Die.
Dragonheart. It's got the real James Bond in it.
Jeez. E.T., Enemy at the Gates.
E.T.
Yeah, 21 Jump Street, Ever After.
21 Jump Street.
Yep. Zombieland, The Bourne Ultimatum.
Bourne Ultimatum.
I go Zombieland. As much as I like Bourne Ultimatum, I won the coin flip. I didn't just choose because I picked.
My opinion of Zombieland is dipped because of how terrible Zombieland 2 was.
And I didn't hate Zombieland 2 as much as you did. Plus, that Bill Murray scene wins every time. And if it was like the Bourne Identity or maybe even the second Bourne movie,
I would take the Jeremy Renner Bourne movie.
The Hangover, Grandma's Boy.
The Hangover.
Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, Basketball.
Indiana Jones.
Sorry. Indiana Jones wins, but love Basketball. The Omen, Ocean's 12. The original Omen.
I don't know. My memory of the original Omen is shaky at best. Whereas I can remember enjoying Ocean's 12 a little bit.
Well, and the other part is Owen's been a classic before. So the fact that it's shaky means the Omen's overrated. I don't think it's very good at all. Death Proof, Bitter Moon.
I don't think I've seen Bitter Moon.
Death Proof, Broken Arrow.
Death Proof was going to win no matter what.
Hard Boiled, Terminator 2.
Ooh, that's a good one. Hard Boiled's a hell of a movie. But Terminator 2 wins.
I don't know Hard Boiled, so I can't wait till next year.
You should see it.
Remind me. Speaking of, Delicontestant turns 30 this year, but it's not going to be released as a major theater, so we got to pick a week for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Last one, The Birdcage, Pay It Forward.
Fishing with Gandhi.